Hello everybody, Bubliny Zestje and welcome back to HOI4. In today's video we're going to be doing a guide to the achievement Britzkrieg. A lot has changed since we last did this achievement, so it's going to be fun to look at what's changed. So let's begin, shall we? We have a lot, and I mean a lot of prep to do. So first things first, we're going to change over our garrison law to local autonomy, always useful to use when we have it. For our research slots, luckily no specialities here today, so electronics, industry and so on. For our civs, we're going to be spamming mills. Mostly mills for now. For our actual mills and dockyards, we're going to maximise production of guns, get rid of the interwar bomber, and spam convoys. The UK has more than enough ships, we don't need to build any of these. Next up, the army, and there's a lot to do with the army today. 36 divisions. Nice, let's break this up into some equal stacks. 11 colonial templates, 1 tank. Good, 24 and 12. 36 divisions is good to start with, but you know what would be better? Having some more divisions. So let's go and get some more. Let's go over to the Dominions and ask them ever so nicely for their forces. So 13 from Canada, 6 from South Africa, 11 from Raj, and 7 from Australia. 37. Right, let's break those up into some equal stacks too. There you go, 24 and 13. Now if any of you were paying attention, you would have noticed there were 2 countries I left out in this, so let's focus on those now. Let's grab New Zealand's divisions, and also British Malaya's. There we go, 5 little divisions. Now what are we going to be doing with those? Very simple. They're going to Gibraltar. Next, let's spam 12 infantry divisions, max priority, 1 of 1 run, and we'll deploy those as soon as we can. Next, for the Navy, we're going to put it all together. Merge, and send it to Southwest England, Plymouth. We're going to do something similar with the Air Force, but around London. Next, we're going to have an intelligence agency made. The main thing we actually want out of the intelligence agency today is to root out resistance. We're going to be expanding quite a lot. But of course, things like ciphers are always useful, aren't they? Next up, we've got some naval invasions to plan, so let's do it. We're going to be naval invading Acaronia and hit the tiles around it. 2 units in each invasion. There you go, this is the naval invasion we're going to be doing. But we'll also have some other naval invasion orders ready so we can assign units to them when the time is right. Something like this will do. And that is, thankfully, as far as I can see, all of our prep out the way. I know, there was a lot of it today, but, well, better get all these things out the way. But, since that is all done, the last thing to do is to put our units on a fallback line in the British Isles so they all gather together, do reinforce the Empire, go to speed 5, and begin. Right, we're going to be going down to Commonwealth ties, so service overseas and encourage colonial elite. 15th of March, this is where the fun begins. We're going to grab the home fleet and make a new task force. All carriers, all battleships, all heavy cruisers, the HMS Renown and the HMS Repulse. Not the HMS Hood, as it is our pride of the fleet, and deleting it would affect war score. Speaking of deleting, let's grab this new task force and delete these all new ships. All new, all gone more like. Oh, and what do you know, this changes how the naval treaties work. Which country are we going to get involved with this? Why, who else? The one, the only, Spain. And there we go, we sent the warning to them. Well, apparently they commit to disarmament, and the Netherlands have signed the treaty. Oh dear. Italy and Japan have just declared war on them. We now have a war goal on Spain, because Spain clearly failed to disarm properly, and this is a global threat. So, declared. Right, Navy, strike force in all sea zones. Air Force, going to be assigned to Mars, so I could just leave it and forget about it for a while. There we go. Naval invasions activated. Now we're going to delete these first orders, and assign some more units to the other ones. 10 to this one, go. Same thing, deleted. Now assign the 1 unit to this one, and the 3 to that. There we go. 24 units now naval invading Spain. And landing in Spain has been easy. Now we just need to spread out and grab the victory points. Right, let's go. We'll also use these little units from the south to attack to maybe take someone like Cadits in Seville. I don't know. The main reason we actually didn't attack from Gibraltar is the fact that sometimes when you stack Gibraltar, Spain will actually back down and you won't get the war goal. So it was just easier to naval invade them today. And there you go, Madrid is ours. You managed to do a good job encircling the south of Spain. Malaga and Seville are ours too. Totally didn't just lose Malaga there, by the way. And there's the end of Spain. Right, this is pretty important today, so listen up. First off, we're going to take all states, untake Madrid, and use our war goal, puppeting. Believe it or not, this is an actual puppet, not a supervised state, so later on if we want to annex Spain, we can. Now we're going to untake everything else. Now since Italy and Japan also have war score, we've got to be careful. The main things they want are releasable tags, or just colonies. And of course there are the releasable tags of Galicia, Basque Country, and Catalonia. And there, Spain is now safe. But we are going to take the rest of them for ourselves as well. Oh, good first round. Right, we're now going to give Spain one state, Salamanca, and just take the rest for ourselves. Luckily the AI has pieced out. There we go, all for us. 24 states and a Spanish puppet. Ooh, that escalated quickly, but that went well, I suppose. Right, now let's get on the French border. You'll see why, right about now. Yep, France still has a war goal against Spain, and they will use it only after Spain is defeated, weirdly enough. Right, I guess we'll begin to attack France. We've even burst over the Pyrenees, but that is not how we're going to take down France, is it? No. What are we going to do? As you see here, we have some naval invasions ready, because I knew this was going to happen, so we're going to activate. The tanks are just going to run down France. Oh, that was quite simple. We didn't have any units in Le Havre, sometimes there are. Anyway, we'll go to Rouen, Paris, Calais, Dunkirk, and that should be the end of France. France is currently in an offensive war, and with a disjointed government, France basically falls like no one else can. And that's the end of them. We have all the war score, and no one else is in this peace deal, so we're just going to pass a few times. The plan was to pass a few times and annex France, but because somehow Nationalist Spain managed to get the tiniest amount of war score, they managed to liberate Kurdistan, and now that means we have to take everything manually. Paradox, if you're somehow listening, please fix this button, because the whole point of it is that I don't have to press every single state. Yeah, just be careful with your puppets sometimes. They are still democratic puppets at this point, and they do like to liberate countries. Oh dear. And now the US has come after us. Great. Anyway, we took 71 states. Free France was annexed, Kurdistan was liberated. It's unfortunate that we lost some little territory, but oh well, it's not that unfortunate. We got the main thing that we came for, which is actually Paris. And since the US now use its war goal, I guess we better go after the US. The Dutch aren't really a problem, we'll deal with them later. We're going to put on our front line something like this from Buffalo all the way up to New England's end. And it begins, the abdication crisis. For our purposes today, we're going to insist on a royal marriage. And at this point, we really do need to save our political power. We're going to get so many events that are going to take it away, so we're not going to spend any. So for example, any event like this, we must stay the course. We cannot have the king abdicate. Anyway, all units are here. Let's call in Canada and go. At this point, the US is unbelievably weak. The main thing with them is actually just to encircle them and prepare to destroy them. Similar to France, the US is actually in an offensive war, so you know what that means? Lower surrender limit. We don't have to go all the way to Los Angeles. But still, we have to take most of the main victory points. New York, Philadelphia, Washington, Baltimore. Encirclements are your friend. Make good use of them. And the Spanish Civil War has begun on time. Now, this is actually quite important. As you can see here, we've completely messed with how the Spanish Civil War works. Right now, our puppet is Nationalist Spain in Salamanca. But luckily, because we own most of Spain, we can do this. Scroll all the way down, and what do you know? Return their territory. There you go, a much bigger nationalist Spain. They'll win the war quite easily. Italy, Japan, Germany, whatever will all help them. And there you go. You'll have a very strong puppet now. The US Army is pretty much completely encircled now. Similarly, they also have to obey the naval invasion AI changes, so they're spread very far out. They've got units probably in Hawaii right now. And just as we lose the cabinet, we gain the United States. We're going to try and annex them? Of course we are. Right, let's take absolutely everything. Since Canada does have some war score, though, we will have to be careful. They will try to puppet the US. I guess the easiest way to prevent Canada from trying to puppet the US will be to cut them out, so we're going to take the border states that they have. And Canada's pieced out. It's not the end of the world if they puppet the US, but it's much easier if they don't. And there you go, the end of the United States. And the end of this cabinet. Oh god, our Spanish puppet is actually trying to naval invade the Dutch. Because we gave them supremacy. Alright, we will have to go after them soon, so I will send 10 units to eventually naval invade them. Including the tank again. It's just tradition now. And there you go, Commonwealth ties. Now it's finally time for us to do a change in course. And there's the actual end of the Spanish Civil War. I guess it's a lot easier when you only need to storm Madrid. Right, we've got 48 days until Edward marries the girl, so we're just gonna hold focus now. I can't believe it took you guys this long to do this, and there go the minions. Oh, it's so sad to lose all of those divisions. We're not ready for the Dutch to be capitulated, so I am going to take direct control of these units. At least this naval invasion was useful, that we managed to get a foothold in the Netherlands that we don't have to gain any other way, but But anyway, the king has married Wallace Simpson, and that means the King's Party is available. Oh no, we have to be at peace, because of course we have to be. I was hoping we didn't have to do that, to be honest. The idea was that we were going to do the King's Party and then annex the Dutch, so we could get the Dutch East Indies as an actual puppet. But unfortunately, fate has forced my hands. Take Rotterdam. I guess we'll try and satellite the Dutch East Indies. Great, we lost Curaçao, but do we at least get Suriname? Yes. Right, let me guess, this is a supervised state. Lovely. That means Japan is going to come after us eventually, but whatever. King's Party. I guess the positive of this is we get a lot more garrison support. Thank you very much. I guess that solves one of our issues. Anyway, right now what we're doing is planning how we're going to take down the Dominions, because we're going to have to at some point. So we're going to have one unit to naval invade from the Congo to South Africa, and one unit to naval invade Tasmania, one unit to naval invade North Ireland, and one unit in French India to do whatever. Right, we have 3 subfleets. One will again support each naval invasion. The main army, though, will be against Canada just to run them down. It's so much easier to run down Canada when we don't have to naval invade Vancouver from Pitcairn Island, believe it or not. And King's Party. We've got a lot of things to do immediately. First things, of course, no more local autonomy, civilian oversight. Second, we're going to justify in South Africa, 90 days. Second, we're going to justify on Raj, India, 155 days. Next, we're going to do God Save the King and consolidate the British Isles. The reason we're justifying on South Africa is actually quite simple. South Africa most of the time actually refuses calls to arms, so you kind of do have to justify on them. India, same reason. They're not in the Allies, but they get guaranteed by Canada, so we get them as well. These 22 units are Spain's divisions, and we're going to be using them to take Ireland. You can train units if you want to, but this is just as easy. Once Spain, however, completes the focus treaty parties, you will lose most of these divisions. The only divisions that you will probably have are the Army of Africa. Justification is ready, but we're going to wait a little while, at least until consolidated British Isles is done. The plan is to have us all done in one war. The last thing you want is just to be gallivanting all over to Australia, New Zealand, and anything like that to clean them up. Right, let's go. We're going to first declare war on South Africa. And second, declare war on Ireland. Annoyingly, I just realised what's happened. Somehow Pakistan is in the same war. What? What's happened is we got India guaranteed, but Pakistan has technically declared war on India, so there you go. Anyway, next, Ceylon Forward Operation Base. Wait, are we already at war with India then? No. Oh no, we lost our justification. Okay, luckily it's only 65 days. I'm going to be much more careful with this. Let's go for this southern state. Right, we're actually going to stop our invasion of Canada and then just wait a little while longer. In a perfect world, maybe we'll get the Peace Out event with Pakistan and we can get all of India. Anyway, let's have our naval invasions go. Doesn't matter if they get destroyed, they just need to land. Good, Pakistan got the Peace Out, so we just need to wait a little while longer and go after India. So there's another top tip for you. Don't justify in a state that Pakistan will take control of. Justify for someone like Mysore, Madurai, and there you won't have problems. That was a mistake on my part. That's not the game's fault. Genuinely surprised that India wasn't allowed into the Allies earlier. Hey, I sent the Army of Africa to India and they just made it in time. Good. Right, let's declare. And we'll attack first so they can't do any funny business. Right, that should be everyone, and now let's finish up. We're going to be doing continental commitments. Great, the whole idea was that we didn't have to fight over Vancouver. Whatever. I'll deal with it. I could have taken it if I didn't tell the units to stop prematurely. Who would have thought that the Battle of Vancouver would be the biggest problem? But it was. But luckily, that is that. And why isn't the Raj in the peace deal? Whatever, we'll just annex everyone. They're even in the Commonwealth of Nations. I can only assume the famous war merger glitch didn't happen. Lovely. Luckily, I could probably have these units take them down if Spain wasn't about to defuse the parties. So I've got to send everyone over. That's annoying, but oh well. There you go, funnily enough, we can now already do the Imperial Federation because we bypassed all of the focuses. It's why we had to do Commonwealth ties when we did. Gobble and Pakistan, why not? Since India is the major, all we have to do is engage a few Pakistan divisions and that should be the end of them. Great. Now the Soviets and Germans have sent volunteers to India. Great! This is just like the Spanish Civil War. Volunteers, volunteers, volunteers. Glorious, isn't it? And there's fused the parties. Now we've lost a lot of divisions down in India. At least on the positive, we should be able to get rid of the German volunteers by getting the alliance with Germany. So, there's one of the problems gone. We lost the port. Right, we've got a port. Question is, can we defend it? Good. Now that gets rid of Germany's volunteers, hopefully. I'll call in Germany if I have to get rid of them. Luckily, take away everything, India is still relatively weak, so neighbour invading is not the problem. It was that nonsense of them getting volunteers and not being in the peace deal. I'll take that port I built back. Yeah, I'm going to regret calling Germany in, but it makes Germany's tanks go away, so, you know, means to an end. Another encirclement, and this time we get to destroy it. We've mostly broken out now, so at this point it's, again, just getting to victory points. The HOI4 can always move faster than you. But luckily, it didn't matter enough because 3 volunteers encircled. I've never seen a more deserving destruction of an encirclement in a long time. Nothing left to stop us. Calling in Germany was a necessary evil. As long as Germany gets no war score, which they damn well should, we'll be fine. I'd love to be in the room where Stalin gets explained to why all of his volunteers got destroyed. And there's the end of that. Right, just pass a few times and annex them both. There we go. Germany had nothing. There we go, we reclaimed most of British Raj except Burma, but I'm not in the mood for that. There we go, we bypassed, developed the Raj and reclaimed the jewel and the crown, and now we can reunite the Anglosphere. At least we could if we hadn't annexed the US. But luckily, we have a very simple solution to that. Release. Oh, and what do you know, we can do it. Right, everyone, to the United States. These 30 will be against the US, something like this. And the rest, like so. 2 armies, more than enough. Get going. I trained up these extra units to help take down Raj, but they'll do. Fine. In fact, I can probably stop training the ones I am. There we go. And Germany declared on Czechoslovakia. Luckily, no problems with that. That's not our problem. I'm just going to leave it at this. That was very, very annoying. The fact that the wars failed to merge properly is a pain. Hopefully in your game it should merge properly. Well, there's reunite the Anglosphere. We'll wait until our units arrive before using the war goal though. Luckily they aren't too far away. Considering the US has like no units, that should be enough. Unfortunately this time we do have to get to Los Angeles, so get going. Encirclement of Washington. Go on. Funnily enough, because we already took Los Angeles, the next capital is Richmond. Rushing for things like Dallas and New Orleans is necessary now, because that's where the US's capital will go. And that's that. Well, that was actually nice and simple. Very good. Right, next step. Occupied territories. Canada releases puppet. There you go, because of the nonsense we've done, we can create the Pan-American state. I must give a free heads up, though, that this decision is only triggered by annexing the US via the war goal you get and unite the Anglosphere. We could not have done this any sooner. But anyway, next up, we're going to annex Canada again. So we're just going to send them 780 convoys so we can make them an integrated puppet, and then after that, we'll annex them. We're going to do the British Commonwealth Air Plan now, as we might not have the opportunity to do it again. Luckily, we've saved up more than enough political power, so we can annex Canada as soon as they get all of our convoys. And there goes the Dominion of North America. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to regret that, aren't I? Damn it! Alright. Well, we've made many mistakes in this run, and there's another one. I should have just waited those extra 7 days and got the focus done. But, whatever. It's a nice national spirit, but it's not going to make or break a run. Let's just do the Imperial Federation, as we're allowed to do it. That was a big mistake. What can you do sometimes? Sometimes you just completely forget what focuses do. And Imperial Federation. We are now so much more powerful. Look at that. We jumped up like 130 factories. We even managed to do something very special. We cored the United States. Give it a second. There you go. Core state. Creating the Dominion of North America will mean that you get cores on America. We have 1.96 million manpower on volunteer only. And something even more special. We get all the generals from the Dominion. So we have Alan, Horace. Now you might be wondering, wait, they don't start with brilliant strategists, and that's true. What I did was choose theatre training, which gives us a chance of brilliant strategists and inflexible strategists. Because these are technically new generals, I believe, from the game's point of view, yep, we get extra brilliant strategists. But you know, extra generals, extra field marshals, all very nice, aren't they? But at this point, you are in a very strong position. A world conquest is almost inevitable at this point, and you can easily continue this on to the achievement 1 Empire. But there is one thing about 1 Empire I do want to clarify. It's a common misconception that 1 Empire is a world conquest achievement. It's not. 1 Empire just means you have to have the entire world in a faction with you, so you know what that means. You don't have to conquer the world. So for example, I could just take over the faction, and as long as I have the whole world in it, there you go, I get the achievement. So don't feel like you have to conquer all of South America, all of Japan, and all of that. If you can get some of them in your faction, that will save you some time. But we are not doing 1 Empire today. I've done that achievement once, and that is enough. But this run was pretty fun. Apart from the nonsense in India, obviously. I still am not entirely sure why the wars didn't merge properly. I hope Paradox looks at that soon, because I've had this happen before, and it's just a nuisance when it happens. So if it could get fixed very soon, it would be appreciated. Something else though that does need to be looked at and fixed is in South Africa, because for some reason you don't get cores on any of it now. It used to be a glitch where you wouldn't get a core on Transvaal, but you would get cores on the rest of South Africa, but nowadays for some reason you get cores on none of them. I don't know why. But yep, this is the end of this guide. We managed to get the achievements Britzkrieg, Last for 1,000 Years, and I'm sure a few others. I mean, we could have just finished after annexing France and rushed down to the achievement, but this was a lot more fun just to go on a complete nonsense rampage all over the world. This whole guide has basically just been Sanity is not included. But yep, this is where we're going to be calling this. I thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave any suggestions in the comments below for future video ideas. I'm always looking for them. But again, this has been me, Bubliny Zestje, doing a guide to Britzkrieg, but Insanity is not included. And until we meet again, goodbye.